So what's going on here? Tell us about that.
Hey, Sherry, the yuan's looking pretty good right now, and it's going to be that way probably for a while. Why is it a good carry trade? That's because you could potentially borrow low-cost US dollars, use that to buy yuan, and invest in Chinese sovereign debt. You get a yield of about 3.6%. If you did the same in the US, you'd get about 2.3%. So that's much higher. Granted, you could get higher returns in Indonesia, for instance, but if you look at the rupiah's
it's been plunging. What's going on there? Down more than 7% this year, right?
Yeah, and if you look at its implied volatility over the period of 3 months, so that's about 11%. That's quite a lot compared to the yuan, which is about 1.3, 1.2%. So it's relatively far riskier.
Why is the Chinese government trying to keep the yuan stable?
That's got a lot to do with its attempts to persuade the IMF to grant it reserve currency status. If the IMF says yes and decides to play ball, that some estimates have $1 trillion of global reserves being moved into Chinese assets. So that's pretty good, because the Chinese economy isn't doing brilliantly at the moment. Estimates by Bloomberg have it growing at about 7% for the year. That would be the least in about 20 years.
So what happens after that IMF decision, in October?
So if the IMF says, yes, you guys are a reserve currency, then it's a pretty good place for China to be in. But if it says no, that's an entirely different story. I'm personally not really convinced that the IMF is going to say yes. If you look back at the MSCI decision earlier this month, where it says it isn't going to include Chinese shares in its emerging market indexes, one of the main reasons they mentioned was the lack of capital mobility. So until that happens, it's probably not going to
chances are kind of low.